Chanda, thank you once again for supporting us and being here. And I must tell the audience that I met Chanda by accident in an airport a few months back, and we were both in the loo and the middle of her just getting ready. I said, Chanda, I have to tell you I have this problem. And she said to me immediately, no, you have to make this event big and see that you get a lot of women entrepreneurs to apply for the awards. And so, Chanda, it's really my pleasure that we've managed to make it not yet to where we would like to get it, but at least we have scaled. So the first thing that I want to ask you this evening, all of us here, we have always looked up, admired, seen a very cool and composed Chanda all the time on the TV and on the news. And I want to ask you first, what makes you tick? What do you think has made you come up to the highest level that really you could?
Thank you, Anita, and I'm first of all very happy to see the kind of response that I'm seeing today to this event. And I heard just a very few stories, and I was very happy to see that people have traveled from so far to be a part of this event. And, let me extend actually a warm welcome to all of you to ICICI. So, coming to what ticks, I think, what ticks is a combination of many things. According to me, first of all, there is no substitute to hard work and determination. So I think that one has to take it as given. But beyond that, I think you really have to work in an environment where you have to gauge what the environment holds for you, and you have to keep yourself prepared for the environment. Because in my view, currently, as we are living in this dynamic world, the only thing that's constant is change. So for any of us to succeed is to anticipate the changes that are taking place in the environment and keep either ourselves or the organizations that we are running ready for that environment. Because that is when you spot the opportunities before others or ahead of others, and therefore you are able to take advantage of those opportunities.
Chanda, you talked about hard work, and in the morning we had a lot of, discussion that women are always, challenged in managing many things. And I just want to ask you first, have you been hardworking all your life, or was it just later in your career? How has it been for you? Was it right through your school, college, and...
I think a sense of discipline and hard work has been there throughout. So, whether it was during the school days or the college days or whatever, focus to say that whatever one is doing, one should do it to the best of your ability. One should not just do it to the best of your own ability, but, look at how others have done it and do it better than the others. Because if you have a passion to excel, you generally want to do everything better than the others. So I think that, in a way, has to get into your mindset. But, the fact that women are always challenged with doing much more, I think that's true. I would say that when you manage your career as well as your home, I think you are, in a way, trying to get 48 hours out of a 24-hour day. So you are definitely doing much more than maybe what the other gender is doing. But in my view, again, one, it's possible to do it. And the second is that it's possible only when we make up our mind that we want to do it. Because it's not easy. So, you have to constantly do time management, you have to constantly prioritize, you have to constantly maybe give up on something for the sake of something else. So every day you are, or every moment you are prioritizing, you're giving up something to do the other thing. But when you look at it as a whole, you have to say that on the whole, did I manage my family okay, and did I manage my career okay? And if you managed it over a period okay, it's okay to, prioritize moment by moment and sacrifice one thing for the other. So I think, in my view, if you make up your mind that this is what you want to do and you're determined to do it, I think it's possible to do it.
Chanda, you spoke about, spotting opportunities before. And I think one of the toughest things that, especially if you're a small entrepreneur, in a certain way you feel there are lots of opportunities, lots of things you can do at the same time. And this dilemma, whether should I focus on one thing or should I, throw many stones? I think that's a issue many of our entrepreneurs have had. And what do you think about it? Because we are talking here of entrepreneurs, 1 crore, 2 crores.
Yeah, India today is actually, of course, throwing up a lot of opportunities. As I see the way India is evolving, we are seeing business opportunities arising out of the aspirational needs for Indians. Indians are consuming more, wanting to spend more, wanting to consume different types of things, wanting to spend on education, travel, and so on and so forth. And on the other hand, we have India that needs infrastructure investment, so anything to do related to infrastructure, technology, etc., everything is an opportunity. So in that sense, I would say it's always good to have wide dreams and to have big dreams and to keep looking at various opportunities. But at the same time, while you may, spread your canvas wide in terms of looking at options, once you choose an option, I think you have to really get focused to doing it well before you try to digress yourself to the next set of options. So I think, this is what I call in a way optimistic realism. That is, you have to always remain optimistic. You have to always think of the impossible. And in that sense, keep thinking of various options, big scale, and so on and so forth. But, once you have a dream, you then synthesize on that dream. And then after that, actually keep checking back with reality to say, how do I transfer the dream into reality? Because otherwise, we will only keep dreaming and we will never come back to the basics. So think big, think wide, think, huge, but then convert each one of them into small focused steps and keep implementing those steps step by step with a lot of focus, and that's how you actually make the big journey.
Chanda, when you talked about thinking, dreaming big and so on, I mean, I'm sure you, like everyone else, there are moments when you think you're being, derailed on that journey in your dream. And I think, especially as an entrepreneur, that happens, very many times. You don't get funds when you want, or a key customer suddenly walks out on you, or maybe key employees walk on you, and you're so small, you think it's all crumbling. And I was just wondering if you could share some of your strategies of how have you handled some of that adversity? I mean, I did read that you lost your father very early in your teens, so I think you have faced personal adversity early. But I was just wondering if there is something that you can share with us, because that is the, I think, biggest challenge. How do you keep on the journey to, meet your dreams?
Yeah, I think that's actually the most important. I believe that it's in the difficult times that, a leader's shoulders have to become broader, the leader's back has to become straighter. Because in fact, when times are good, you can move along. The momentum of good times pushes you ahead. But in fact, when you have headwinds, that's where you have to stand stronger, because that is the time you have to ensure that you don't get swamped by the winds, but you're standing straight so that you can move ahead. So there are lots of adversities that could happen. I mean, they could happen in personal life, they could happen in professional life. And it may not sometimes be adversities. It may just be that you may just feel that things are just not moving. I mean, nothing may have gone wrong, but you feel frustrated if things don't move. But at that point in time, one has to really be even more focused on the job and just focus on saying, what does it take to move forward? I think instead of, thinking of many wider things and thinking of, the big goal that you may have 5 years later and 10 years later, I think at that time you have to think that moment and put your head down and say, what are the 3 steps I need to take to just make the next movement? Because it's that next movement that then gives you the momentum to move forward. So, you always have to keep thinking like that. And, as I said, sometimes there are adversities. Sometimes, in ICICI itself, we faced a few times a lot of challenges when there were so many perceptions around ICICI saying things are going wrong and this and that, the other. At that time, you can't get swarmed by the questions people are raising. You have to just keep standing up and keep answering their questions and keep answering their questions and keep answering their questions till the time you convey that confidence, you know, and it's only when you convey the confidence that the others really go back with a confident answer. Or for that matter, you know, there was a time when ICICI was just entering into the retail business. And I was told to just take charge of the retail business and set it up. In a way, I could have looked at it and said, oh my God, my career is coming to an end because I'm just enjoying what I'm doing, being a part of the corporate side of the business. And why should I get into the nitty-gritty of really setting up a retail business? I don't even know whether ICICI is going to make it big in that business, whether, if at all, that business is going to grow big for India, and whether we are going to succeed at all. But I think at that time, if you say, my dream, my vision is to say that ICICI should become the leader in this business. From being zero, it should become a leader in 3 years. But these are the 5 immediate things that we need to do to make the first movement. I think that's the only way you move forward.
Have you felt that, you know, being an MBA, being from a premier institute makes a difference, or do you think it's more the, you know, passion of wanting to achieve? I mean, do you think that many of us here should go out and get a formal business education to be able to do business well, or do we not?
In my view, I mean, education is relevant in the way you use it. So I don't think to go out and get an education to get a stamp makes a difference. But to go out and always get an education to learn something else, to be able to apply it in your business, I think always helps. In that sense, I think a leader always has to keep learning, because you learn, you execute. With execution, you actually gain experience and you learn more. So I think learning in anyone's life never stops. But I don't think just getting a stamp is what is enough for you to move forward in life, because finally, in my view, you know, it's the performance that really determines you know, how you do it, either in your business or in your career, and it's your potential that really takes you forward. So it's really what you deliver and how you really make use of the opportunities that come your way that make the bigger difference, rather than just having a stamp.
You know, getting together a good team and being, you know, to scale, building up that team is the most important thing. What do you actually look for when you look for, you know, as a leader, you know, with young people? And what would be some of the tips that you would like to share in terms of what we must look when we look for people, especially as small entrepreneurs?
We have to actually look at 2 things. One is we have to look at what are those, you know, attributes that you want in the leaders per se. And the second is you have to look at actually the composition of the team as well, because different types of attributes in different people then complement and give you a greater team, because the team together then becomes a wholesome team that runs your business or your organization. So first of all, I think just for leaders, you know, you need people who can actually anticipate, not maybe just anticipate, but really adapt themselves with the environment and are agile to respond to the environment. So your ability to respond very, very quickly, I think, is very important in today's time, because I just feel that the pace of change is just changing substantially. And one has many examples of this. If you look at the companies that were market leaders in their business as early as 1955, actually all those companies retained their position as market leaders even up to 1990. But out of that same set of companies, 2/3 of them did not even exist by 2004. So, you know, the pace of change was much slower in the past. The pace of change is much faster now. So ability of people to adapt, be agile, quickly respond, I think, is one quality. But over and above that, you need, of course, the ability of people to work as a team. You need ability of people to develop leaders under them. You need ability of people to really, you know, then deal with things with the basic ethics, integrity, and so on. So you need the basic leadership qualities. But when I look at a team, actually what is additionally required, as I said, is do you have a team that is diverse enough? diverse in their way of thinking, diverse in gender, diverse in the kind of backgrounds they come from, diverse in the skill sets that they bring, so that when you sit and discuss with the team, you're actually sure that you've looked at very many aspects, because each one of them would have given you a different perspective and a different way of looking at the same thing.
But Chanda, when you have a very diverse team thinking very differently, there's also potential for a lot more conflicts, for people pulling apart. And have you ever felt that that has been an issue?
No, clearly, and I mean, it's one, you have a diverse team, and then, of course, if you have great leaders, each one of them is an achiever in their own right. So, they have their own thinking, they have their own way of believing in things, executing things. So, yes, it's always a challenge to keep them together. But I think that is the leader's job. The leader's job is to keep the team together, to get the best out of the people, and that's how you get the best for your organization. Because in my view, again, while every raw material for the business is today not so easy to get. I mean, you need capital, you need technology, you need your raw material, you need many things. But frankly, each one of these raw materials are getting commoditized. But so the differentiation that you can bring in your business is not by saying how much capital, how much technology, how much finance you have. But the real differentiation will be how well you use the resources that you have. And how well you use the resources that you have really depends on what kind of people you have. So that's where you create a niche. So accessibility is really as easy or as difficult for everybody. So, one can say, yeah, finance is difficult, or one can say finance is easy. But I'm saying it's as difficult or as easy for everyone. But having got it, how effectively do you make use of it? That's where you create a differentiation. And there it's your people that make all the difference.
Chanda, actually, when you said finance is as easy or difficult, I think our whole group here is going to say finance is the most difficult thing.
No, that's why I'm not saying it's easy or difficult, but I'm saying it's the same for all your peers. If you find it difficult, it's equally difficult for everybody. But having got the finance, how effectively do you use it?
Yeah, that is true. But as just saying that, as small businesses, this issue of how do you get finance, I think, we see it often as the one thing that stops us from scaling and is really, in fact, the biggest issue. And I was wondering, we know big banks like ICICI really don't have, shall I say, time for small people and don't have. So, what do you think, businesses like this can do to really make, banks interested in them? Do you think it's the business idea, the kind of team, and, really being able to sell the story and not worry too much of scale? How would...
Yeah, first of all, of course, I don't agree that banks like ICICI don't have time for our small and medium enterprise practice is actually a very vibrant practice, and we deal actually with millions of small and medium enterprise businesses. To some we lend, to some we offer banking transaction facilities and so on.
But Chanda, you should say a word about your enterprising awards. We've been trying to tell people that know a bank like you too would like to encourage women. So.
Yeah, so in fact, we are the ones who started about 7 years ago this Small and Medium Enterprise Awards. And at that time, in the first year, we got just 7,000 entries. And today, we get over 1 lakh entries just for those awards. So, not just that we really do financing for small and medium enterprises, but we also do a lot of investment in the ecosystem. That is, how do we mentor the budding entrepreneurs, how do we mentor some of the small and medium enterprises, how do we actually tell them, how to run their strategy, these kind of awards which actually give them encouragement and so on. But having said all that, I think I have to acknowledge that in India, clearly for the emerging, the absolute emerging businesses, I think it's not easy to get finance. And the reason is that the way businesses have to emerge, actually at that time, it's not the loan funds, it's the venture funds that have to play a bigger role. Because as businesses are really emerging, getting conceptualized and emerging, what you need is really much more equity kind of funding, rather than getting stuck or, getting with a large amount of loans where you enter into fixed obligations of having to service interest right from the beginning. So really, the way enterprises really emerge in a country is when the venture funds play a large role. Now, in India, what has happened, unfortunately, is that most of the venture funds that even started as those initial private equity arms have very quickly ventured into becoming entities that really fund the second stage or the third stage. So nobody has really focused on funding the first stage enterprises, and clearly I think that is a gap that exists in the country, and that's why I can empathize with the fact that it's not easy to get finance. But yes, what finally makes it possible is to say that, you should have the right story, the right vision, the right dream, but back it up with a proper business plan and back it up with an achievable business plan so that, it may be a dream, but it should also look very absolutely achievable. And then have an organization structure or really the team that can implement it. I think that is what gives confidence to the people who have to provide the finance.
We have a lot of, women who like to look at projects that have social impact and are not necessarily so-called conventional business projects. And I think even here today we have a lot of that. And I think it's a little bit, tougher sometimes to try to think what should be the, financial business model of that. And how do you think the way forward, especially as all of us talk a lot more about CSR initiatives and so on, what do you think is the way forward for them? Because they are the ones who struggle very much a lot more to scale.
Yeah. But yes, I think there is a lot of, scope and need for projects with social impact. So I would encourage, many of you who are really keen to pursue this direction. But I think there, really to make an impact, what we have to, look at is how can these projects work in collaboration? And collaboration of two kinds. That is one, a network maybe amongst these projects itself, because if you network, I think there's just a whole lot of synergy and your ability to together scale becomes even bigger. But the other thing is to network with those large organizations who are always doing something in that direction. So, rather than just looking at the possibility of getting funds to do what you had planned, if you try and align yourself with an organization that has planned something in the same direction, whether it's in the same geography or the same sector or the same direction, then the ability of that organization to partner with you, even in terms of providing funding, just becomes that much more easier. So I think while you may not always have a very viable monetary plan in some of these projects, but what you need to find is a viable alignment with those large organizations who would find a value in aligning with you and then therefore would be forthcoming with some of the funds for these projects.